day 1253. And I'm going to go onto Facebook, plug this in. Um, Look at what time it gets later and later. But it just can't be helped. It's so it's so busy. It is getting so busy. We are operating on 1,000, well, I should say 100 miles an hour. Um, and the speed is picking up every day. To understand what was going on in El Paso that led to the August 3rd, which is Dallas Hart's birthday, 2019 Walmart mass shooting. What were the real reasons behind it? What were the witnesses saying? What was the aftermath and the DA office in El Paso, because that really matters, and how that affected Richard's case. Is Richard murdered? There is not a doubt in our minds that Richard was murdered. He was murdered. And, it's like the Natalie Holloway case. You knew that she was murdered. Did you have her body? Will you ever get her body? Will her family ever get her body? In our son's case, we're not without hope with that. We want to have his remains. Is there, but we know that he was murdered. We know that it is in connection with the Walmart case. And how do we know that? Because of 3905 Bliss Avenue. 3905 Bliss Avenue. And it's all going to come out. And look up 3905 Bliss Avenue. You have to review this case, of course, because you have to know about, let me make sure that I'm on. It says live. And I'm get a little, thank you so much. I think you can all hear me. Okay, I can see everybody. Thank you so much. So this is 1,253 days. And thank you for coming on so late. We are burning the midnight oil because we don't want to stop our entire life. And also, we are, the investigators. We are the media. We are, we live in a world. One thing that I have, and I think absolutely my husband, Team 5 Richard Halliday, has realized, is that we live in a different world than what we think. We think that when something happens, that we can go to the authorities and they have the ability and the right and the free, I guess the highway, the free way to conduct their duty. And that is not the case. There is so many personalities, religions, groups, cartels, politics that play a huge, just factor into everything. Family connections, and it gums up the system. It gums it up because it gets generational, and the oversight is the same way. You would think that we would have oversight, checks and balances to take some turpentine to the system, and it's just not the case. It's pretty gummed up. And so if you want justice, you have to take the turpentine yourself and and make the wheels of justice turn. And it is just takes, wow, just the grace of God, the power of God. Team Find Richard Halliday, absolutely Team Find Richard Halliday. And I hope that makes sense, because the media is gummed up too. Uh, they they are so involved in this, and Bob Moore is so involved in this. Okay, he's up to his eyeballs in violation of his 501c3. Okay, I would say it's even worse than that. I think he's drowning in his violations of his 501c3, and he should absolutely have that stripped from him. Absolutely. Because his violations are so many. It's not an accident. It's not a mistake. And these people absolutely know what they're doing. They absolutely intentionally insert themselves into the politics, insert themselves in two cases to direct narratives. They are a key player, and they answer to somebody. Maybe we have some ideas to direct the narrative that keeps that somebody in power. Okay, in power in order to continue to profit off of the gravy train, off of a criminal. It's absolutely criminal business plan. Okay. And the Walmart case is part of that. The Walmart case, I mean, when you look at it, there's so many questions I have being an Army brat, Go Army all my life. Go Army all my life, being around Army, being around military all my life. And that one article is from Medium by this writer that is a very brave man, very brave man, that comes out and is authentic. That article is authentic. And what happened to it? It got buried. It got so buried. It took, it was a God thing that we found that article. Okay? God put that article in front of us. And it is a very long article. And we are in the process of, combing through it and presenting it to you. And we will present that to you. But we also have the timeline of the assistant district attorney for Jaime Esparza, for Yvonne Rosales, for Bill Hicks, all three DAs for El Paso and that area. There's two other jurisdictions. So, but the assistant district attorney, I want to say right now, thank you so much, Team Find Richard Halliday, for sharing, contacting us, and sharing some corrections that need to be made in the timeline. And I will get to that. We will get to that. Those corrections. Those corrections are small corrections, a timeline pretty much that we put up, and that's only part one. We'll put up part two and three and discuss them because we think that it's very, very important. Team Find Richard Halliday knows how important it is to understand the environment, understand the legals that are going on at that time, the legal politics that are going on at that time, the regular politics that are going on at that time that Richard was murdered. And also for the Walmart case in 2019. So it's kind of like right now, for politics, people will kill for it. Okay, they will kill for it, and we know through history they will even do mass murder for it. Okay, they will absolutely, to stay in power, do mass murder, and they will kill, and they are just ruthless. They are ruthless. Politics is very ruthless. And in this case, it's no different. So to understand the politics, and I remember when a few years back when we first started, especially with the COVID, and I would be mentioning the politics and the COVID, absolutely the crimes against humanity, absolutely crimes against humanity. People would ask me, what do politics have to do with this? What does the COVID have to do with this? What is, and when you are in our situation, in Team Find Richard Halliday's situation, it had everything to do with it, everything, because the world was stopped and the organizations were shorthanded, or the offices were closed, or the delays were, one right after the other. And it really affected this case. The politics really affected, it really gummed up our system. And so we've had to work very hard to apply that turpentine. If you don't know about turpentine is such a great thing. Turpentine's really great. Did you know that Vicks Vapor Rub, when it first came out, I don't know if it does today, but it had turpentine in it. Turpentine is such a really great, it comes from a pine tree. I don't know if people know that, but it comes from a pine tree, and it keeps the pine tree healthy, right? It does. So if it keeps a pine tree healthy, maybe we should look at that. So turpentine is really, really great for many, many different things. You can make a salve out of it. And why am I saying this? Because there are simple things that you can do, that I can do, that Team Find Richard Halliday can do to help our country, to help our legal system, to help our agencies and organizations. You can be the turpentine. It's something very simple. You don't have to be. I'm not this super well-educated person. I'm a curious person. I want to know what happened to my son. I want to know what happened to him, and I want his remains. Okay? So I count myself as a loving mother because I want his remains. And I don't want his name to be used and his social security number to be used over and over again like it's being used. I want him to rest in peace. And so, I'm going to apply the just that love, the search for the truth, justice. I'm not going to care about the threats. I'm not going to care about the harassment. I'm not going to care about the psyops that sometimes, you kind of have to slap yourself and go, wake up. They're trying to hypnotize you. They're trying to hypnotize you and make you forget about your son, make you forget about other service members, make you forget about your country, your duty to your country, your family, the future, right? So, I'm constantly getting messages. That's why you might hear some noise. but it is uh, it is very, very important that we share the information that we have learned from this. And that is what my Oma always told me. Selbst ist der Mann. Selbst ist der Mann. If you want justice, you're going to have to work for it. If you want all the beautiful benefits of a nation of justice and truth, then you have to work for it. We want to live in our freedom. We want to live in a world where we can go into a store and get things and not have the high inflation and well-made things. We want to buy things for the best price possible that is the best made possible. We want to have the freedom to protect our family. We want to have the freedom to do business, to live life in freedom. And if we want that, if we want all of that, we have to be willing to do the work for it. And right now, in our time, it's a little bit hard. We're not getting it on a silver platter. And so with Richard's case, we have absolutely understood that the politics of the day play a huge, huge role because they are unhinged. They feel like they have forgotten who they serve. The politicians like Veronica Escobar has totally forgotten who she serves. And she is serving some foreign and domestic enemy. Absolutely. There's not a doubt in my mind. And the same thing with our generals, 44 four-star generals and admirals who we have given everything to, supported with all our heart, and they have betrayed us, absolutely betrayed us. And, the Walmart mass shooting, it seems to be some kind of, because of seeing all of the military there, like Fort Bliss was there. What was Fort Bliss doing there? See, that is something that when you're a veteran, when you're around the military, that doesn't. I guess maybe because I'm a little bit old school on that. My husband retired in 2006, and then, of course, we worked alongside the military for a long time, many years. And so you just don't put the military on the street like that unless you're doing some kind of training. And that's what came to my mind when I was looking at the pictures. So I have Patrick Crucius on one hand being sentenced to 90 consecutive lifetime sentences. Okay, so he's never going to see the light of day, right? Unless the case is botched, right? And we know the case is botched. But we have him on one hand, and he is, turning himself in. Hey, yeah, it's me. Hey, it's me. I'm the one that went in there and shot off 1,000 bullets, and I don't want to say, I can't say what he did because it's so gruesome, right? It's so gruesome what happened to these victims. So I'm not going to say it. You all know, especially in El Paso, you all know what happened, right? 23 have lost their lives, and terrible things. But he comes up, oh yeah, okay, no, turning himself in. Yeah, it was me. No, and on his own, right? And he wore ear. See, he wore the ear protection and the eye protection, and just he was protecting himself. He cared about himself. Also, being autistic, he's very sensitive to hearing. And then he turns himself in. And then he's at these trials, right? People are telling him, I want you to go to hell and I want you dead. And he's getting all of these death threats and stuff. And, uh, he doesn't seem to. We're getting reports too that he tried suicide. I just, the narrative doesn't fit. The narrative doesn't fit all of the evidence. And so, okay, so if we have this article that we haven't presented yet to everybody, we have posted it, and I posted it a second time, and I'll post it a third time. Um, but we're going through it with a fine tooth comb, and I did post up that this was uh, a methodical, right? This was a methodical killing, mass murder, right? And I don't know if I disagree with that. I don't think I disagree with that, but I don't think it's methodical like how the media wants to say this is a white supremacist kind of thing. That is not what I'm saying about the methodical. I think the methodical is something else that was well planned out, because Patrick Crucius came up to the police and said, "Oh, yeah, and by the way, it's me." Like it's some kind of training. And you have the military marching on the streets like it's some training, right? You have the reporting, the reporting of it like it's some kind of training. And it's just, I don't know. Um, we'll see. We'll see when we go through. Those are my initial thoughts. So, because the narrative, the massive amount of media that covered it, that is totally a different narrative compared to this article that we posted, and giving proof. This is not an article that's just AI or something, right? This is an article that um, is giving you proof of everything that he's saying. He is naming names. He's giving maps. He's showing pictures. He's putting out links. The links are very interesting. So, uh, yeah, the narrative that was given out by many, and I've been looking at too many, um, they seem to regurgitate this political hypnosis that they're trying to put on the people, right? That's, it's like this, going across and back, a hypnosis of these regurgitated media posts um, on this Walmart case, and then all of a sudden you have this article, this long article with proof and everything, and wow, uh, it I think it puts you in reality. It puts you right there in reality. It's kind of like, has anybody watched that movie Matrix, where you're just in this pod and you're plugged in everywhere, and they're putting this video in your head and you think you're there like it's in a dream, but really you're in a pod, right? You're in a pod and you're acting like you're a battery or whatever. Uh, and then if you get released, if you get some kind of conscience that allows you to be released out of the pod, some kind of conscious awareness, epistemological self-consciousness, that allowed you to realize that there's something more beyond the hypnosis, you can be released from it and you might have a chance of surviving. You might have a chance. And it is just a chance, because once you get released from it and you're facing reality, sometimes you're like, oh wow, put me back in the pod, right? Put me back in the pod. This is too difficult, because you realize that things are not what you thought they were, and that's hard to accept. So we have been unplugged from the pod because with our son's murder, we realized that there's something else there, you know? So we had this epistemological self consciousness that there's something else there. And now we're facing reality and we're looking at the Walmart case and our son's case, and it's connected by that Bliss Avenue, 3905 Bliss Avenue, 3705 Bliss Avenue. Really, 3905 Bliss Avenue is like, you know, connects it all. And they had sent Danae Katzen. You have Belen Rocha, and then their families. And then you have Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, the Hoffmans connected here, with much more and much more with Felix Valenzuela at this Bliss Avenue. The medical examiner, Mario Rascon Ortiz. And the more that you make the connections, the more we realized that those two events, those two incidences, those two crimes were connected. Absolutely connected. And they're connected in a way that explains how they could get so much support in their crimes, their major crimes that they are committing. And they are absolutely committing major crimes. And, you know, it seems to have been, just developed over generations, this criminal network. And so that is, try facing that. You're facing your son's murder, a dismemberment. You're facing the truth that our 44 force generals and admirals have betrayed us. You're facing the fact that Veronica Escobar has betrayed us. You're facing the fact that for some reason, Christine Wormuth, even though she's 23 ranks below a sitting senator, has power over a sitting senator. You're facing these facts that a PSYOP was conducted in order for you to hire people that, this PI that only talks to Belen Rocha and Danae Katzen. And then, God moves. Right? So another thing that my Oma taught me, self-systeman, that means you have to do it yourself. You have to do it yourself, right? Under God. She always meant it under God. You gotta get it done. You gotta do it. It has to be done. Because they're not going to do it for you. And my Oma learned that during, being German, during World War II. She learned that she could not count on a government and government agencies, that was a dangerous game, that politics were very powerful, and she didn't want to be part of that. So another thing that she said is Mensch denkt, Gott lenkt. Okay, so let me translate that. It doesn't translate so good. Selbstbestimmt, it has this little ring to it. Mensch denkt, Gott lenkt. That has a nice little ring to it. But I'll translate it. One is, self is the man, right? Selbst ist der Mann. Got to do it yourself. And then we think we can do it all. We think we can make these criminal network business plans. We think that we can murder an active duty soldier out of Fort Bliss. We think that we can put together a mass shooting to get hypnosis of the fear put into the El Pasoans and the surrounding area. In 1 week, 3 mass shootings. Think about that. And a very, very chosen time. Okay? Very chosen time. Timestamps are very, very important, even though they disregard timestamps. They know it's important. And it is important. So we feel that the timing has to be understood. And so that's why we put together this timeline. And I hope you understand what I'm talking about, because men think, but God is the one that's really driving history. God is the one driving the cases. He is making it all happen. He's going to bring forth justice. So he's the driver. He's the one that, do y'all know how to drive stick? I learned how to drive on a stick shift, right? So I know how to change gears. And God is the one that changes the gears and drives. That's what that neat little German saying means. That we think, but God drives the gears, right? He's the one that controls it all. So, and in this case, it absolutely, I have not chosen, and neither has anybody in Team Find Richard Halliday, to connect the Walmart case to Richard's case. Never. It's the truth. They were connected. God linked. So I don't think that the criminals, the other two, all the pictures are out there, the videos, but not with the Walmart case. And, it's curious. Why not? Why not? And why are they hiding? Why a key witness who live streamed, what was going on in the mall during the shooting on August 3rd, 2019, was found dead in his Fort Bliss barracks in April of 2020. Okay, and we are getting information about the cause of death of this soldier. And why is that hush hush? Why can't we know why he died? He is our soldier. He's our service member. Why can't we know where Richard's remains are? He is our soldier, our service member. Why can't we see the video, parts of the video that Private Oakley took? I'd like to see it. So because everything seems to be a cover-up and botched, our eyes get taken to the DA office. Okay, because none of this could happen if the DA office was doing their job. And none of this could happen if the media were doing their job. And none of this could happen if the 44 four-star generals and admirals were doing their job. But they are controlled, in my opinion, by politics, and they are in the business of psyops. Psyops. Hypnotizing us to accept a false narrative, just a bunch of lies, so that they can continue with their business plan and their power, with the gravy train that we provide for them. So, they're trying, with all this derivatives market, with the Federal Reserve Bank, just print out the money. We don't need the people anymore, right? That's such a dream world. I mean, they're just so plugged into lies. They've bought their own lies. They do not want to be released from the pods. They're in the pods. And their world in the pods is a criminal syndicate. And they do not want to realize that there's something more out there. And so the media is absolutely, a stage in their minds, thinking, okay, we're just going to go along with these false narratives. We won't question it. And the generals, they just want to pad their pockets and betray their countries, absolutely commit crimes against humanity. The 2020, they absolutely, and 2021, they absolutely committed crimes against humanity, period. There's no debate. There's so much evidence out there. They betrayed us. And so many people have been killed and harmed and ruined because of their betrayal. And now we go to the law enforcement community, the DA, and you can say, wow, you're talking about four-star generals, you have to remember, we were go Army, go Army. We still are. We love our country. We love our service members. But they are being led in a dream world, in a manufactured simulation. In silicon, they call it in silicon world. The asymmetric warfare tacticians, it's an in silicon world. And that is just not sustainable, y'all. That's just not, and that's not living. That's why there's so many deaths. That's why there's so much pain in so many different ways. And so our focus, if we know that the military leadership is in silicon, and we know that the media is totally in silicon, in this fake pod world uh, go watch The Matrix. You'll understand what I'm saying. Um, then let's look at our law enforcement. Let's look at our judges. Let's look at our DAs. Let's look at, because the politics are in Silicon. Absolutely. And, the way they whip you into your dream world is to compromise you. To compromise you or retaliate against you. To make you so afraid. That's retaliation. And I hope this makes sense, because it sure does put everything together, how this could happen with mass shootings and the Walmart, August 3rd, which is Dallas Hart's birthday, 2019, how that could be connected to Richard's murder. How that could even happen. How the law enforcement community could let that happen. How the politics, how Veronica Escobar could let that happen. Right? Because she has oversight. I think, was it Gonzalez, Representative Gonzalez, I think that's his name, wanted to share responsibility of Fort Bliss with Veronica Escobar. And he was turned down. I think, he was turned down. So she is the lone oversight. And she's a total failure. Oakley was found dead. Private Oakley, rest in peace, was found dead in his barracks room. Richard was murdered under her watch. There's rapes and a 14-year-old girl living in the barracks being prostituted out. By the way, Sound of Freedom is on Prime right now. It's offered by Prime right now. Please watch it. Absolutely. It's on Prime. That was very important to help us understand why the use of these tactical move storage units and the enormity of the child sex trafficking right now. And that's going on. 85,000 unaccounted for minors on Fort Bliss. Veronica Escobar talks like, oh, I care about these migrants. I care about people so much. I care. But you know what? You can go ahead into slavery. You can go ahead and sell them into sex cults. You can go ahead and whatever, take their organs, and we'll never know their name. Maybe issue them a social security number. We'll steal that too. I don't know what is in her demonic mind. Because any benevolent person would not want to put minors on Fort Bliss after what has been going on. Nobody. And no benevolent person would want to put a female in a barracks that is mostly vim and vigor men learning how to kill. Learning how to kill. That's what goes on in the military. You learn how to war. You learn how to destroy. You learn how to kill. You think they're learning how to be nice guys? That's not how a military works. And with this leadership, who has betrayed us, and you're going to stick our beautiful daughters with our sons. Absolutely. We told that to Richard. You go in the military, you have to be praying all the time and have the highest character, because you're going in there to learn how to kill. That's what it is. What do you think happened in Iraq and in Afghanistan and in Ukraine in World War II? And you name it. Kosovo. Things got blown up and many people died because they were killed. And that's why we need the highest caliber leadership, moral caliber. And we don't. And Veronica Escobar has not been an advocate for women and children. She has not been an advocate for our service members. She has not been an advocate for the migrants. She's a failure. Along with the media, leadership, and the 44 four-star generals and admirals. So we know that. So let's look what happened with the DA, because it was one big mess. The turmoil that this long, I just posted the first one, timeline has exposed. And thank you very much to Team Find Richard Halliday for sending us corrections and other information. And our corrections, I have to go through my notes and make those corrections, and I will do that. But the point that the timeline makes is it shows that the DAs were not in control, and John Briggs played the role. He was in charge of the Walmart case. And that several people have testified, have given witness to, have reported, have evidence that he was not progressing the case, that he was blocking the case, that he was insubordinate, that he was leaving the case in pieces, and on and on. And he was there. He was there with Jaime Esparza. He was there with Yvonne Rosales. Yvonne Rosales ended up firing him. And as soon as she fired him, 2 days later, they, being Bob Moore, put in a petition to have her removed. And they're trying to talk about monies and everything. Well, let me tell you, Bill Hicks, he doesn't even value timestamps. And the whole system of justice runs, the cogs of the whole system is timestamps. There is no system without timestamps. So to disregard and tamper, like the allegations are there, and seemingly the proof is there because of open records, because of emails, He has a disregard for the very system that he is supposed to be, uh, defending and making sure that it stays law abiding. And that's why he's a prosecutor, because he's supposed to identify the crimes. He needs to identify his own crime, but identify crimes, the criminals, to document it and to prosecute it so that our system will not be, gummed up, that the cogs won't be gummed up, that we have truthful timestamps. When did he get appointed? Because he was not elected. When did he take the oath of office? When did he fill out his ethics commitment form? When did he really do that? And then did he try to cover up his delay? Why did he delay? Those are all very, very good questions. And if they are so busy working for the man behind the curtain, or the woman behind the curtain, or the organization behind the curtain, instead of actually identifying crime and criminals, documenting them and prosecuting them, but leaving them in pieces, sabotaging the movement forward of any of that, there's a problem. Because there's violations of gag orders that are allowed for some, and for others, not so much. And the more I add to the timeline, the more you see the problem. And, they were there to help us. They are there to help us. But they're so gummed up, and they're living in this bubble of, maybe they've been there for so long, they don't even realize that they're asleep at the wheel. But they are definitely asleep at the wheel, living in a dream world, in a fake reality. And it is just all about politics. Absolutely. So we got some responses back today from agencies and officials, and we're applying the turpentine to make those wheels of justice turn. And thank you for coming on often and supporting us and listening to these long broadcasts, these long live streams. Because it takes time. It takes time to get through to those that, have this epistemological self-consciousness, that knows that without justice, with, this pattern of tampering is so deadly. We have a pattern of theft through tampering with documents, federal documents, immigration statuses, death certificates, with remains. I'm not even joking. And did you know that this Private Oakley, rest in peace, that died in April of 2020, that his social security number is still being used? We have that confirmed. So there is pattern after pattern after pattern of, and I've had one person ask, what kind of evidence do you have of Richard's social security number being used? Okay, and we have all of that, and that will be evidence in our court case. But I'm telling you, there's things that are posted publicly that you can see very easily that Richard's name has been stolen, that they disregard the privacy and the autonomy of individuals. They disregard us. They think they can use our names, our identity for their own profit. They steal it. And if they do it with us, they do it with the migrants, they do it with the children, they do it with documents, they do it with the deceased. It's just all over. And so there's so much theft of weapons, theft of children, theft of, I remember that one little girl that showed up with her dog to talk to Crucius, and she was like, "You stole my childhood." Look, these people that manufactured, that planned, that trained for this mass shooting and Richard's murder, the cover up for it, the op-ord for the cover up, but not an op-ord to find him, right? Can't do that. But yet they can manufacture and stage a task force find Richard Halliday, like a little scene in that bubble dream world, to try to do a psyop on us. And it was a psyop. They can try and do all that, but the real perpetrators, are thieves that you've never seen before. The kind of thieves you've never seen before. We're talking about weapon smuggling, narcotics trafficking, child trafficking, child pornography, pedophilia. And so whatever Richard was, and then they steal positions. They steal positions. I would say in politics, I would say in law enforcement, I would say in the media, I would say in the military. They steal positions of power. And that's my opinion, because when I look at IG, this is a stolen position. When I look at the 44 four-star generals, I believe they are in stolen positions, and they need to be stripped from those uniforms and those stars. You think Sean Bernabe earned that third star? I don't think so. I don't think so. He stole it. He stole that third star. Because I know for a fact that he did not do his duty, that he did not defend the Constitution, the land, and the people. Absolutely. He did not do it. And that's how he would have earned his third star. He didn't. That was a deal. That was a deal. Yeah. So you could not have even pictured it, that meeting with P.P. McGee. When I said Richard's getting caught with underage drinking 0.04 BAC. 0.04 BAC on his one counseling slip that they issued him, 0.04 BAC. And I said, that's not punitive. What the heck is that? Is that the excuse you have to murder my son? I say to my, I should have said that then, but I said that's not punitive. They went that PP. He gave me this big old manila folder like this, to explain it to me how that's punitive. Like, you have to be smart to understand that a 0.04 BAC is not punitive. You don't have to be too smart for that. You have to have common sense. You have to have an awareness of reality. But if you want to retaliate against someone and call them names and discredit them and label them and everything, then you have to have it punitive, right? For retaliation's sake. For retaliation's sake, to destroy the credibility of a whistleblower, we have to have that punitive. And it was absolutely absurd. But Mensch denkt, Gott lenkt, and the next thing we know, we have 11, 12 soldiers in William Beaumont Army Medical Center because they drank. Now, I don't think all of them had to be in the hospital, but they got sick because they were drinking grog in the field out of a sealet, and got poisoned by antifreeze. Let's add some whiskey, let's add some vodka, let's add some whatever to this sealet, and let's let our soldiers drink it in the field. Yeah. That happened right. It was right after we had that meeting. It was like, wow. God is in control of this. And we're like, what you're saying is absolutely ridiculous. Something happened to Richard. And we knew that the way they were acting, the way they were shaking, they were in fear. Even in their brashness and boldness, and like trying to put on an act, like whatever, they were so afraid. You could just read it all over their faces, and we're like, what are they so afraid of? They're not afraid of Richard. They're not afraid of us. What are they so afraid of? And we're like, because Richard was murdered, and they did not want another Vanessa Guillen. They did not want another Guillen. And now we know even more. We know that it points to who the real perpetrators are for the Walmart case. And why would the Army be so afraid of discovering who perpetrated the Walmart case? They had those. Now we have Private Oakley talking from his grave what happened. So and and we have reports too that he was getting death threats, and the article absolutely explained that he had those vile, vulgar retaliators, those vile, vulgar harassers, the same that we have had to endure and suffer through. He was getting to, and worse, and he was getting death threats. He was getting death threats in April of 2020. He was found dead in the barracks. So, um, yeah. So, what military? So that makes me think. That's why I'm on here. I'm saying this all to everybody. And in my opinion, if the military is shaking and they're trying to hush up and allow a witness to the Walmart case, very high profile case, be harassed and death threatened, and they don't move him out of there, and he ends up dead. He ends up dead right, in August. The Walmart case happened August 3rd, 2019. They should have absolutely moved him out of there. But they allowed him to stay on Fort Bliss in the barracks and endure and suffer through death threats and vile, vulgar attacks. Smear campaign. A smear campaign. And in April of 2020, he was dead in the barracks. Now, when you think about that, and you think that those soldiers were out there, they were out there in uniform with their weapons. Makes you think, who's the other shooters? Who's the other shooters? Because witnesses have claimed there's multiple shooters. Multiple shooters. Who's the other shooters? Are they veterans? Because let me tell you, a lot of these mass shootings are veterans, are military. That's why you had that one case that had to pay out those millions and millions of dollars because the Air Force did not do anything, did not follow protocol to protect the public from this mentally ill Air Force, right, that did the mass shooting in the, I believe it was a church. So this happens at Walmart, and the military has failed to protect their service members, and he gets murdered. I shouldn't say he gets murdered. He is found dead in the barracks after death threats. Private Oakley. And then Richard is murdered. And both of their social security numbers are being used right now as I give this live stream. And the DA, all they're doing is leaving the cases in pieces, not moving it forward 4 years in, putting gag orders, illegal gag order. In my opinion, that's an illegal gag order, what they were trying to do. And all kinds of other sealing the case, not communicating with the families, not being transparent, not abiding by the laws of this land when it comes to open records, when it comes to timestamps. Sorry, I'm probably yelling a little bit because, wow. Just pray for us. Pray for our country. Pray for our service members. Pray for victims because it wasn't just Richard's case. It's not just the Walmart case. There's that other massive murder case that also that murderer walked because of John Briggs. John Briggs leaving things in pieces. And it's not me saying that. It is very credible. His supervisor, um, uh, very credible sources, people that work with him, Yvonne Rosales, uh, Loretta Lynn Hewitt, um, Reyes Mata with the open records, and there's more. There's more, and I meant to put it all here to make sure that I mention it. It needs to be mentioned, and people need to understand what's going on. So they might get a little awareness so that they want to get unplugged and live in reality. Because that's how we're going to get justice. That's how we're going to get the turpentine on this gummed up system that we have, to get the wheels of justice turning. And it might be slow, but it's no stopping it. There's no stopping it. It's going to happen. And that's a faith thing, right? That's my faith. Because if we're not going to help put the turpentine on, the turpentine is going to go on no matter what, because God's in control. But isn't it sweet to be part of that? Just to see people get justice is an amazing, amazing experience. And I never expected to be one of those people that want justice so bad. Yeah. So thank you so much, Anicia. Thank you so much, Mitzi, for coming on. Good evening. Thank you for your prayers and your love. And we're going to keep moving forward. And, if you see any discrepancies in that timeline that I put up, I want to thank Team Find Richard Halliday for sending us some information. Continue to send that, because that really, really helps. God bless you. Pray for Oakley. I know he died so long ago, but it's the other service members that we don't know about that are going through similar situations. And so I had to put his face up there. And I want to thank the writer of that article. Amazing job. Amazing job. So thank you so much. God bless you all. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.